It has been a month since the release of the Vivo Y36, the latest smartphone in Vivo's budget Y series. It offers mid-range specifications with bigger storage, extendable RAM, an outstanding battery, and high refresh rate. But is it worth the $12,999 price tag? The Vivo Y36 is targeted more towards the younger audience, supposedly bringing a good balance between style, content creation capabilities, and performance with an aesthetically pleasing design, decent camera quality, good battery life and display, with just the right amount of horsepower for your average day-to-day tasks. With that said, let me share with you the things that I like and didn't like about the Vivo Y36. Let's get into it. As always, honest disclaimer, this video is not sponsored or paid. In fact, I just borrowed this from Vivo. Before anything else, let me just pop the key specifications so that you can check it out. And with that out of the way, let's jump right into the things that I like about the Vivo Y36. First is the aesthetically pleasing design. What I have here is the Glitter Aqua variant, and as you can tell, it is absolutely refreshing. What I like the most about this design is that even though it features a glossy plastic back, fingerprints are essentially invisible due to the nature of the design. Not to mention the stunning glittery pattern underneath and the contrasting design on the camera system. The flat sides are also nice, partnered with its curved edges. I also like the punch hole cutout for the selfie camera, especially in comparison with the older dewdrop design. The bezels could have been thinner though, but not that bad either. Another thing that I like about this is the side-mounted fingerprint sensor on the power button. Am I the only one who prefer this over the in-display fingerprint reader? Let me know in the comments below. I honestly feel like it is more reliable and easy to access compared to the under the glass. The next thing that I like about the Vivo Y36 is the display. It features a 6.64-inch Full HD Plus IPS panel with up to 90Hz refresh rate, 395 pixels per inch density, and a 650 nits peak brightness. Yeah, granted, it is not AMOLED, but for the most part, the quality is pretty decent in my opinion. The colors are vibrant, with decent contrast, details, and good enough black levels. Viewing angles are pretty decent as well and without unwanted artificial sharpening or upscaling. It also features a 240Hz touch sampling rate for better gaming performance. I also like the fact that it has a decent 8GB of RAM with an option to extend it and allows for more apps to run at the same time. It features a background algorithm to manage the RAM properly, making sure each and every app is ready to go when you need it. However, I believe it uses some of the internal storage to accomplish that, which may take some performance hit, but at least you have that as an option. Speaking of internal storage, I also like that we have a substantial 256GB capacity here, with an option to expand it up to 1TB via the microSD card slot, which a lot of modern smartphones tend to ditch nowadays, so it's definitely a plus. Now, I also like the camera quality of the main 50MP wide-angle lens. For the most part, the exposure is spot on, with good dynamic range, balancing both the shadows and highlights. The colors are also pretty natural with just the right amount of saturation. I also appreciate that the sharpness and image processing are not overdone and just look quite natural. We have a 2x option here, but this is just in-sensor or digital zoom since you only have one usable lens. The 16MP selfie camera is also okay and can produce relatively pleasing selfies. You can also adjust the aperture setting in portrait mode to control the amount of bokeh or background separation. In my opinion, f4 is decent for an almost natural background separation. However, I don't like the fact that we don't have an ultra-wide-angle lens here. It's 2023, so why are brands taking a step backward when it comes to their camera system, right? It just baffles me so much, and I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. And this is not just for Vivo, other brands are guilty of it as well. A few years back, mid-range smartphones boast up to 4 cameras. Now we're just getting 2 with technically only one usable lens. Anyways, the last thing that I like about the Vivo Y36 is the 44 watts fast charging capability that allows you to get up to 70% charge in just around 34 minutes, which is very convenient. And the outstanding battery life thanks to the 5000 mAh of battery and the power efficient, albeit older, Snapdragon 680 chipset. As per my standard PC Mark Core 3.0 battery life benchmark with maximum brightness and volume but with earphones plugged in, and I believe I also set the refresh rate to 90Hz, the Vivo Y36 lasted almost 10 hours, which can easily last you the entire day. So in theory, if you lower the brightness and set the refresh rate to either 60 or the smart switch, you'll get a longer battery life. Now, speaking of the chipset, let's talk about the things that I didn't like about the Vivo Y36. And it's probably just a few things. Aside from the lack of an ultra-wide angle lens, I also didn't like the rather outdated Snapdragon 680 chipset that I alluded to. At this point of the year, especially at this price range, we should expect a slightly more modern chipset than this. Don't get me wrong, the Snapdragon 680 is still pretty capable for any day-to-day tasks, browsing the user interface, social media applications, and media consumption. It can even handle some of the most popular games like Call of Duty Mobile and Mobile Legends. Its only kryptonite are high graphics intensive games like Genshin Impact, Diablo Immortal, and the like. More on that later. But yeah, it's one of the things that made me scratch my head. The other thing is the fact that we only have a single downward firing speaker. Granted, it can get loud up to a whopping 200%, but still, having a stereo speaker setup is definitely better at this price range. Well, at least we still have a headphone jack. Here's a quick sound test.
All these thoughts keep me up at night. I can't think straight, need the light. I don't really think I understand this world now. Got my head spinning round in a circle. Everybody lacks what they need to turn up, so they compensate with everything.
Now, here are all the benchmarks that I ran on the Vivo Y36. Now, in terms of gaming performance, I'm glad that even though this is not a gaming phone, we have a sort of gaming assistant here that you can toggle by swapping from the side. Here you can switch between the performance modes, and I highly suggest you turn on boost mode when gaming so that you'll get the best performance possible. We also have a bunch of useful features here, but unfortunately, we don't have a built-in FPS counter or stats overlay here. You can use the refresh rate overlay via developer options, but as per testing, it only shows the current refresh rate of the screen, either 60 or 90. Now, I'm happy to say that the Vivo Y36 is capable enough in Call of Duty Mobile. I was able to game without any noticeable frame drops or issues in both prioritizing frame rate over quality and vice versa. However, it is worth noting that in both settings, the screen shows it's only at 60 Hz. In Mobile Legends, the screen shows that it is running at 90 Hz, and as per testing, the gaming experience is super smooth even at the highest frame rate and graphics settings available. So if your main mobile game is Mobile Legends and similar titles, then the Vivo Y36 is more than capable for it. However, it struggles when it comes to graphics intensive games. In Diablo Immortal, as you can tell, it is not yet optimized. And digging under the settings, while the screen shows 90 Hz, 60 FPS is not supported, and the only resolution supported is medium. And I gotta say, it's better to leave it at that, as even at this setting, I still encountered some hiccups here and there. It's still playable, just set your expectations right. The same can be said in Genshin Impact, which is another graphics-intensive game. The screen shows it's running at 90 Hz, but in my honest opinion, the best setting to use here is either low or even lowest at 30 FPS only to have a playable gaming experience. Anything more than that will result in noticeable frame drops. I actually did another test of all the mentioned games with the refresh rate counter turned on, but I forgot to film it, I'm sorry. But yeah, your gaming experience will highly vary depending on the particular game that you're going to play, given the chipset it has inside. Other than the older chipset, the single downward firing speaker, and the lack of the ultra-wide angle lens in relation to its price, I don't have much complaints about the Vivo Y36. Now before we move on, let's take a look around so that you can get a full idea of what the Vivo Y36 has to offer. In front, we have the 6.64-inch Full HD Plus display and the punch-hole 16-megapixel selfie camera. On the left side, we don't have anything here because both the volume rocker and the power button are located on the other side. Like I said earlier, the fingerprint sensor is integrated with the power button. Up top, we have the SIM card tray that supports dual nano SIM cards with an integrated microSD card slot and the secondary microphone. And then at the bottom, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, the primary microphone, the USB Type-C port, and the single downward firing speaker. At the back, we have a stylish design and a dual camera system. We have the main 50-megapixel wide-angle lens and the 2-megapixel depth sensor. And like I said earlier, we don't have an ultra-wide-angle lens here. In terms of the user interface, the Vivo Y36 features the FunTouch 13 OS based on Android 13. I was about to include the pre-installed apps on the things that I didn't like, but then I realized that most of these applications I think you're going to use anyway, so I'll give it a pass. Plus, you can easily uninstall them if you want. What's important here is that the user interface is relatively clean. It's not the most fluid experience ever, but considering the hardware inside, it's decent enough. Now, of course, under the hood, we also have a bunch of settings. The most notable feature here is the screen refresh rate. You can choose between the smart switch, 60Hz and 90Hz refresh rates. We also have a bunch of intuitive customization options here with themes, wallpapers, icons, and the like. Now, what separates this bigger, more established brand is the fact that they are often more reliable when it comes to software updates over time. That's one thing that is certain here, not to mention aftermarket service. Now, before I share with you my final thoughts, in terms of the unboxing experience, we have a white box, and inside it we have the Vivo Y36 itself, a free jelly case, some paperwork, the 44 watts power brick, the charging cable, and the SIM ejector pin. Overall, my recommendation here is fairly simple. If you can get past the fact that the Vivo Y36 doesn't have an ultra-wide angle lens and uses an older chipset, everything else it has to offer is still pretty compelling. It offers a stylish and trendy design, has a pretty good display with high refresh rate capability, good battery life with fast charging support, good enough camera quality, and still pretty capable hardware specifications that can keep up with most day-to-day tasks like social media browsing, media consumption, and mild gaming on the side. Now, when it comes to the price, honestly, what you're getting here, and probably what sets itself apart from other more affordable brands, is probably the name, reputation, and reliability when it comes to software updates. Yeah, granted, you can get cheaper phones with comparable and even better specifications, but some of them are relatively new in the market with a question mark when it comes to support. Don't get me wrong guys, I'm not justifying the price tag Vivo has set for the Y36. I'm just sharing with you my honest thoughts. As with any brand, they usually start with unbeatable price points, then slowly move up their prices as they increase popularity in the smartphone market space. It's just how it works, and we've been seeing this from other brands as well. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this hot take. At the end of the day, you're still the one going to decide depending on your preference and of course, your buying capacity. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. Huge thanks to Vivo for allowing me to borrow this. Again, this is not sponsored or paid and I have to return this to Vivo after this video. If you're interested in this, I'll put some links below. Now, if you want to watch another smartphone review from this channel, go ahead and click this. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you appreciate this video, and see you next time. Have a great day guys, you're awesome.